Rosamund, your reaction to the Cecil the Lion killing?
Well, I was glad at first that it was on the front pages. It seemed we were taking a very serious issue and actually putting it in a prominent position. But what I thought was completely disproportionate was that we started hounding the man. We didn't address the issue in totality. What social media lends itself to, particularly Twitter, with its 140-character limit, it became a sort of mob of people saying this man is sort of the most disgusting human being alive. We must hound him in all sorts of ways. People were calling for him, PETA called for him to be hanged on its Twitter profile. Piers Morgan wrote that he, fantasised about skinning him alive. And I think that, and obviously that was for the Mail Online, but that's something there that social media does is it produces those violent reactions and sort of perpetuates them, and we get this mob building up incredibly quickly.
What did you think of the mob, Brian?
I object to your tone, actually, and that's why I came in. You invited me in, but I object to the fact that for once the world actually did get up and express its outrage at something which was despicable. And this, I mean, the internet to me is just hearsay. It's just amplified hearsay. There's nothing new here. For once, people got up and said, we don't accept that this is the way that people should carry on. And I'm actually disappointed that you take this view that it's something, we have to apologise for. I don't want you minimising it. I don't want you sanitising it. This animal was caused to suffer, and it's the tip of a huge iceberg. There are animals everywhere being abused by people at the moment, and this opened it up. People are now asking the question. We may, thanks to this, have a Cecil's Law. We should have a Cecil's Law which forbids the import of any trophies from any country, and we should stop trophy hunting in this country too.
What about the specific point about the hounding of the man? I mean, he's not the only hunter, is he? He was doing...
I don't like hounding anyone to death. That's not I don't think that's decent behaviour. I can understand people's outrage, but this guy obviously has a wife and a family. We don't want to penalise them. At the same time, if a person commits a crime, which I believe he probably did, he has to be called to task. I mean, that's the way the world works. He has to be probably apprehended.
And am I taking it that your sort of view about how policy works or social movements work is that you focus on an example, so that there are 2 lions being killed a day. We don't make a fuss about the others, but...
Well, we actually do make a fuss about it. I mean, I
generally we don't.
I think it applies to everything. I think it applies to foxes and badgers and everything. There are so many animals all around us being abused at the moment, and what's wrong is the mentality that tells people, oh, animals don't matter. It doesn't matter. We can abuse them, we can use them, we can experiment on them, we can kill them for fun, for sport. That's all despicable. And I think what happened with this particular thing wasn't conscious for many of us, but it came, it arrived. There was an animal that everybody cared about, and he epitomised what's wrong with our attitude to animals.
I think what depresses me about the media reaction is that it takes it becoming, a so-called Twitter storm and finding this one individual to attack for it to move from the middle pages, where these stories tend to stick, into the front page. So day 1 of the story was about Cecil the Lion. But by day 4, we were going through this man's history. We were looking, we were finding his dental practice. People graffitied his home, his holiday home. And you're thinking, this has all come from something. And the venom is so targeted at an individual and not at, it's very easy to scapegoat a person, but to look more broadly at an industry and an issue and a culture. You're looking at
just one side of it, aren't you? I mean, that was one side of it, but the other side of it is that people are conscious and becoming more conscious. People didn't know that these animals were actually bred to be taken potshots at. I mean, it's disgusting. These animals are bred in captivity, they're shot at in a cage, sometimes they're drugged so they can't get away. The same as people breed foxes for sport in this country. It's all despicable. It needs to change. So I'm sorry about the guy. I think he's probably, I'm not to say whether he's guilty or innocent. It looks like he's guilty, so there has to be some kind of punishment or whatever.
But that's for the law to do,
absolutely.
Isn't it? And he
but I
will
wouldn't concentrate on
get...
that. I would say some good will come of this, and I think social media is just like hearsay. Good comes of it, bad comes of it.
That is such an interesting contention, isn't it? Because I wonder whether you, Rosamund, think it works. I mean, because it felt to me as though social opprobrium was now applied to that activity. You're never going to see a would-be king or a Spanish monarch standing in front of a big mammal that they've killed looking proud, are you? I mean, it has just changed the game.
But people do go and hunt deer and various other things. I'm not equating that necessarily.
I would equate it.
I think that certain people certainly will be aware of it, but I sometimes think Twitter is talking to itself an awful lot. It's people who already agree with one another, supporting each other's views.
There's a lot of truth in that, and I think it was interesting that this broke out of the... I mean, I feel that I talk to the same people the whole time. It's preaching to the converted. But this actually broke out. This did... I mean, we use Twitter to good effect, we galvanised people to care about the fox hunting issue, which is why we narrowly escaped being the first country in the world to bring back a blood sport in the 21st century. People cared enough to make a difference, and it was Twitter that did that. It can be abused, of course it can, but it can do a lot of good too.
Rosamund, I wonder whether sometimes, I'm a bit torn on this myself, whether reasonableness sometimes doesn't work. If people didn't overreact sometimes, nothing would ever happen. If we're not going to drive this perfect line between sort of the right side of each argument.
Yeah, I think there's something in that. I think a lot of good can come from anger. I mean, that's what motivates people in interacting. But is the same person who tweets that they want to do horrible things to this dentist the same person who then goes away and fights the cause that you are nobly fighting for animals? I'm not sure they are. I think it's very easy to put your little opinion and then send it out into the world, get everyone to retweet it, and a month later, are you checking that anybody's doing anything about, you know, conserving animals in the world? I don't know. I mean, I don't think
Personally,
you are.
I am.
You most certainly are. But I don't know
I want
that the
to see a
average
change.
person who chucks that on Twitter
I mean,
is.
I was happy to see that some airlines actually took it on themselves to lead by banning the transport of these trophies. I would like to see the Prime Minister take a lead as well. We could ban tomorrow, there could be a bill to ban the import of trophies. We need it. It could be brought in. The whole country would get behind David Cameron if he decided to do this. Let's see it.
Fascinating topic. Thanks both very much.